Hello, Stephanie Smith here from slsmithassociates.com. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time. I am a consultant who works with companies to help them implement change in systems within their organizations efficiently, effectively, and smoothly. And so we've talked about testing, we've talked about training. If you haven't seen those videos, go check them out on my YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe so you get great updates like the one I'm about to give you today on a frequent basis, right? So we've done testing, we've talked about training. Now it's time, it's the time you've all been waiting for. It's what you've been working up to for the last year, for the last 6 months, right? It's exciting, it's nerve-wracking, all at the same time. It's go live time, right? It's go live time. And in today's video, what I want to do for you is I want to walk you through 5 tips, 5 suggestions on what you can do at your organization, within your team, to make sure you have a successful go live and a successful go live support period. So today, like I said, we're going to walk through 5 things, 5 tips that you can do within your organization to help you with this process. So get ready, get your pen, get your paper together. We are going to get started. Okay? All right, so tip number 1, and this is something you want to start before you go live, right? So if you didn't do this, no fear, right? If you didn't do this, no fear. You can get it on the next one if you're already too far along, or if you're planning, make sure you do this one. What you want to do is, in each area of your organization that's going to be affected by this change, by this implementation, you're going to want to start tracking probably a month to 2 months before go live. You're going to want to start tracking the company's progress in every area. Okay, and what I mean by this is you're going to want to start paying attention to how many purchase orders are you cranking out every day? How many purchase orders are you receiving on a daily basis? How many production orders are you creating? How many production order confirmations are you doing? How many customer orders are you taking in a day? How many customer orders are you shipping a day? How many warehouse movements are you doing within a day? These are things that you want to track before you go live, right? Because what we're going to do then is we're going to start tracking these same things after you do your implementation, because then what that does for us, right, is it helps us identify, are we on track? Are the processes that we've now put in place, is the new software system that we now put in place, is it still supporting our business the way our old system was, the way our old process was? Are we still getting things done as expected, right? So tracking these things ahead of time lets us know where we should be or what status quo was, right, for the organization. But then when we go live and we track those same things, that tells us if we're on the right track, if we're not disrupting the business, or how much are we disrupting the business, right? So if I'm tracking it and I see I have a big dip or I have a big increase, that's going to make my eyes pay attention to those things to make sure, do I have a problem here? Or do we have great improvements here? What exactly is causing these numbers to work? It's good benchmarking to help us identify where our problems are if they're not on the surface. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Track your progress in all areas prior to go live, then track them after go live for a period of time after go live to help you identify where problems could exist. Okay, tip number 2. Tip number 2, and this is something that's critical. This is probably the most obvious one that most of you do, but I'm going to give you a little tweak to it. This is daily end-of-day meetings with your groups, okay? And I mean that in 2 different ways. You probably have one with your project team. Your project team probably has a daily end of day that you talk about all of the open issues. You talk about the issues that were open today. You talk about the critical stuff that happened today. You go through all those things right at the end of the day. However, what I want you to consider is that's with your project team. That's a little bit more technical typically, right? You're talking about things that you are doing behind the scenes that maybe the users aren't privy to. But now I want you to add a layer to that. And I want you to do a daily end of day meeting with your users, with the people you specifically support. So if there are 10 people on your project team and each one of them support a different part of the organization, I would expect each one of those individuals to have daily end of day meetings with their groups. Daily end of day meetings with their groups. You have to hear back from the organization to identify, are you meeting their needs? Do they feel comfortable? Keep in mind, guys, at the end of the day, it's their system. They're the ones that are going to use it. They're the ones that are going to make it or break it. And if you don't have their buy-in, their support, right, their help, at the end of the day, it's not a success. Just because you hit the go live button, just because you put the information in production, means nothing if your users aren't comfortable with using the system, if your users aren't comfortable with the process, right? So you have to make sure that the users feel the same way that you do and that you're getting that gauge check. And that gauge check is that end of the day meeting. Okay? The gauge check is that end of the day meeting where you're going to get feedback from them. How did the day go? What are you struggling with? What problems are you guys continuing to have? Now, I'm not going to say that you haven't already heard that, right? If you're supporting that group like you're supposed to be, most of what you're going to talk about in that group is things that you've already heard from the day. However, when you get everybody together, okay, when you get everybody together and everybody hears everybody else, and then you potentially answer questions, you identify, okay, what are we going to do about this? You've talked about it one time, you've given one solution, you've come up with one plan. Instead of talking to 5 or 6 people, saying it 5 or 6 times, that end of the day meeting is your chance to broadcast or talk to the group together, right? Talk to the group together. So you want everybody there. You want to have that meeting, and then you certainly want to have your end of the day project meeting, right? You have to stay on the same page with project management. You may need their support in certain areas. So these are things that you want to make sure you continue to do. It's a lot of stress on you as the one who's supporting the implementation. You may be the consultant, you may be the business process owner, you may be the manager of the department. However, it's a lot of stress on you, but let me tell you, if you do these things during the go live support period and leading into the go live support period, that period is going to be a much smaller period. Your people are going to be off and running and working and need less and less and less of you much faster, right? If you want to stretch this out and let this be a 6-month thing, then continue to sit at your desk, only go to them when you're being called, and then you will continue to make this a longer process than it needs to be. Okay? So have those daily end of meetings. Communicate. You can't do it enough during these time periods. They need to know that they're being heard. Okay? Enough on that one. All right, the third one. Day in the life work list. Day in the life work list. This is number 3. Okay? A lot of people don't think about this, but when you think about taking your user from testing, taking them from training, and you're trying to transition their mindset to, okay, what is it going to look like the first day I walk in and I log in? What do I do? Like, what's the first thing that I do? How am I supposed to start using the system? You know, I already know what my daily work pattern is today. I already know what I do with this process today, right? If you're completely changing their system and you're not just changing a process, right? If you're completely changing their system, they really need guidance to get started, but they're not going to stay there. Okay. So these day in the life work list is, what is the checklist of everything they're going to come and do every day? You can put it on a clock. You can put it on a spreadsheet with an hour by hour, do this, then you do this, then you do this, right? They're going to start doing that when they first log in, when they first start using the system, or they first start a process. They're going to do it exactly how you have it mapped out. And then what they're going to do, the more comfortable that they get, They're going to start tweaking it. They're going to start making their changes, etc. That's okay. That's okay, because the day in the life work list is not meant to be in stone. It's not meant to be, this is exactly how they have to do it and the only way that they can do it. The idea of the work list is just to get them started, get them comfortable, give them a map, give them a guide, get them through what they need to do. It's also good to use that if for some reason that particular resource happens to be out for a day, you will, the person who's backing them up will use this as a pattern, right? Because when we all know when the backup person is doing someone's job, they don't do it like the other person, right? They're doing enough to get by. They're doing enough to get by to cover that person's desk because they have their own stuff to worry about, right? So give them the day in the life work list, okay? Day in the life work list, and then that will help guide them and get them started. It's, what do I do at this hour? 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 You can include transaction codes. You can reference work instructions, whatever makes sense for you and what exactly you're specifically doing. But just give them a roadmap. Give them a roadmap to get started. Once they're off and running, that thing's going to go in the desk drawer. It's going to go in file 13, the trash can, and they're going to be on their way. Okay? Number four is pay attention to the questions that are being asked, right? When these users come to you and they ask you questions, pay attention to what they're asking. Think beyond the question that they're asking, okay? Because they don't know what they don't know. They may not have, you thought they might have put the dots together, and maybe they really didn't, right? So think beyond the question that they're asking. Think if you have multiple people that you're supporting, are they all asking you the same thing? Are they all struggling with the same thing? Pay attention to your inbox, your email, right? They're going to send you emails because they've got questions. It's maybe faster. It's not as urgent. So they might send you an email. Pay attention to the emails. Do you got a recurring theme? Do you got a recurring theme with the questions? Pay attention to those, because what you could do, what you may have to do is maybe the questions are warranting the fact that you maybe need to do a mini training. Maybe you need to get everybody back together and you guys need to talk about, or you need to remind them, remember when this happens, that means you need to go do this, this, and this. Remember when you see this on the screen, it means this. Remember, this is how this needs to be set up, right? You might need to remind them. You may need to pull out documentation you already gave them, or maybe it might be something completely new, something you didn't cover in training because you didn't anticipate it, right? So you might need to take one of those end of the day meetings that we talked about earlier, and you may need to take a few minutes out of those and say, okay, while I got you all here, okay, you all sit together here. What I'm going to show you is I'm getting a lot of questions about this one particular topic. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So let me go through this from beginning to end. Oh, by the way, here's a document I created for you as a reference. So the next time this comes up, you can look at it, okay? And you give that to them. You walk them through it. Everybody got the same message. Everybody got documentation to go back to their desk with. And guess what? You have no questions anymore in your email box. You have no more questions asking for somebody to ask you to come to their desk, right? Now you have time for other things. Now you have time to answer more questions about something else, or you have time to go home and spend it with your family, or you have time to get off work at 5 instead of 8 p.m., right? So doing that little bit of work, taking that few minutes, right, to pay attention to the questions that they ask, identify if you're getting repeated ones, right? Then putting a stop to it. Those questions that they're asking are a clear indication of whether you gave them what they needed. If you didn't, they're all going to ask it. That means you need to deliver. You need to provide them what they need. Okay? That's your indication. So pay attention to the questions that are being asked. They're going to tell you, as a support person, what do you need to do next? How can you help them better? Those questions will answer that question for you. And lastly, resource planning. Resource planning. This is something that you can decide to address beforehand, which I hope you do, or during the process, or you can decide to do it for the next time. But pay attention. Number 5 is resource planning. Resource planning, guys. So you have an individual who supported the project. You have an individual who supported the team. However, think about go live, okay? Most go lives don't go without problems. Don't go without adjustments. Don't go without questions. And I want you to think about, can your process, what you're doing, can it withstand have one person answer the questions from the users for their entire work day? You know, maybe that's 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 a.m. to midnight, maybe you got a multiple shift. Can this individual answer the questions from the users? Because they can call at any time. They're going to send emails at any time. Can they actively help the users? Can they put in the system fixes? Can they attend the meetings that they're going to be required to attend during Go Live support? Can they hold the end of day meetings? Can one individual do that for that area? Something to ask yourself. A lot of times what we find is we put consultants in place and we say, okay, you're the consultant for this area. And we say, you're the one who supported it the entire time. You're the consultant for the area. Okay. Then we get to go live. We say, okay, consultant, you need to be there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because that's when your users are there. Okay, makes sense. However, oh, by the way, consultant, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., you need to be on call whenever they call you over to their desk. So make sure you can go over and help them. You got 5 of them, but make sure you can go over and help them. And oh, by the way, any issues that are added to the issues list, you need to get those done too. And you also need to attend these other meetings as well. You need to think about, can one person really do all that? Will it work? Because what you're going to find is one of the 2 areas are going to suffer. Either your users are not going to get their questions answered because your resource is too busy trying to fix the problems that they've logged, that we've identified are real problems with the process or with the system. Or the issue log is going to fill up and get very large. Users are going to continue to have problems because they're spending all their time with the users and they don't have any time to work on the issues. You've already asked them to work 12 hours a day. Yes, after the users leave, before the users come in, they can work on the issues. But are you going to run somebody into the ground? We all know when we're tired, when we're irritated, when we're exhausted, we don't work to our best potential. So think about that with resource planning. You may need to bring in just people for Go Live support that know the process, understand what should happen. They're your eyes and your ears. They'll give the consultant potentially half of a day to work on issues, and then they can go be the eyes and the ears and the person that is the in front of the users, right? Or maybe you bring somebody in that works on the problems in the background that allows the consultant time with the users. But think about that from resource planning perspective, because a lot of times we don't think about that. We get to the end, we're all ready to go. Everybody's just ready to be done and get this over with. And we don't think about that last thing. And then we struggle to get out of Go Live support because we still have users who are frustrated. We still have users who have questions, and we got an issue list that's a mile long. Okay? We can help that by planning better with our resources. Okay, guys, so there you go. There are 5 things to think about when you're going into a Go Live to help you with Go Live preparation, Go Live support, that I can guarantee, because I do them, and they work every time, that will work for you no matter what project, no matter what process, no matter what system you're working on. Doing these things will help you have a better relationship with your users. It'll have you have a better relationship with your project management team, and it will make your Go Live support process a more enjoyable one. And that's what we're all looking for, right? a successful, enjoyable go live. And if you do these things, I guarantee you'll be in that boat. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Feel free to leave me a comment below. Head over to slsmithassociates.com. Give me a shout in the Contact Us page. Check out our blog as well. We got a lot of cool things going on there as well. And if you want to check out the reviews of what other people are saying about working with us and the things that we do, check that out as well. I look forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk to you soon.